I figured I wanted to share with all of you my secret for always being motivated. So let me get a little bit closer, let me tell you my secret. So I had a friend text me about something that made me think I need to make a video about this. And she asked me about motivation and how I stay motivated. And I figured I wanted to share with all of you my secret for always being motivated. So let me get a little bit closer, let me tell you my secret. I'm not. That's it. No one is always motivated. No one that you see on social media is always motivated to train. No one that goes to the CrossFit Games is always motivated to train. No one who is a professional athlete, like in the NFL or NBA or Major League Soccer, none of them are always motivated to train. That's the truth. You're not always going to be motivated, and you can't rely on motivation. So motivation is fleeting. So I decided I'm going to talk a little bit about the things I use to make sure I am moving my body, getting into the gym when I can, and training to get better. And I'll be honest, right now, I am in a pretty motivated state, but it hasn't always been that way. So I certainly have some expertise in trying to continue your fitness journey and be as good at it as you can, whatever that is that you're training for. So my first tip is make it routine. It has to be a habit. That is probably one of the biggest tips. It has to be a habit. You have to program into your day that you're gonna get movement in, that you're gonna get your training in. So for me, I usually train at the same time every day. And that ensures that I know that at this time, I am going to the gym. I am going to move my body, even if it's not at the gym. That's the time that I'm gonna take my time to move my body. My time for me, my time away from work, my time away from my friends and my family, because I need to prioritize my training, my physical well-being at that time. So we're about to head to the gym. I'm gonna put on my sneakers and we're going to get going, and we're going to prioritize training. Ready to go outside? Okay, walking into the gym, and this is a fairly big one. My gym is Diablo CrossFit, and find your community. That is a huge way to stay motivated. Find people that you're gonna be excited to see at the gym. Find a workout partner. Find an online community. Any of those things can help you stay motivated. Like sometimes I take class. I'm having that programmed in right now because I feel like taking class is a great way to be a part of the community. I'll put some video here of my experience in class yesterday. We did some heavy back squats, a heavy 2-up for the day. I failed one, and someone picked it up and helped me out to get it back on the rack, and bruised my ego a little bit by picking it up so easily. It was a man who's much bigger than me, but you know, that's part of the community too. And today I'm doing open gym, and I'm always excited to see who's going to be in open gym and catch up with them. So that community part, huge part of helping to stay motivated.
This is a heavy lifting day, so I am now just getting my body warm and getting warmed up before I start my lifting workout. I always try to warm up for about 10 to 15 minutes at least, get a little bit of a sweat going, activate things. Not a ton of stretching because I don't like to be too loose, but I do like to be activated. So here's some banded walks. You see that I do a lot of these. One of my favorite ways to warm up when I'm going to be squatting, activate those glutes. Here I am trying to activate my lats and get my shoulders all warm and ready for some snatches, and then into some muscle snatches to prime things before we snatch a little bit heavier, going for a 3x2 today. So you'll see a couple sets of that, some warm-up sets, and then into some of the heavier weights for the day. I did these all touch and go. I don't think I had to, but I chose to. This is on to some of the more moderate weights that we did. It wasn't for heavy for the day. We were working at percentages, but trying to make sure I didn't get too deep in that squat and stayed active at the bottom of it, because that's something I struggle with in my lifting. So something I've been working on, and I think it went decently well today.
just finished up my snatches, and another tip is find something you want to listen to. So sometimes I'll save a podcast I'm really excited about or an album I really want to listen to for when I'm going to be in the gym. Gives me something that I'm excited to do in addition to move my body, something I'm excited to hear, something I'd probably do regardless, but I do it at the gym, so it encourages me to get here and do it while I'm here.
On to the clean portion of the session, and we're starting out with some muscle cleans at a fairly light load just to grease the grooves before we get into our 3x2 of a clean and jerk. You're just seeing the last two. That was the same for the snatches, just trying to keep things moving here. But this is my two heaviest sets, this being the second of the three, and then the third of the three will be the next video. And again, just working on maintaining tension. That's something, as someone who's super mobile, I've struggled with. So trying to maintain tension throughout the lift, make sure I'm using my legs and staying tense in the bottom of the squat, and activating my lats as well has been something I've been thinking about here when I'm pulling. So just a lot of things to work on, and always trying to get better and improve and stronger. So hopefully we're getting there. I am liking the way my squats are looking this session in both the clean and the snatch. So I'm happy. Hopefully my coach will be happy, but just trying to get a little bit better each day and, struggle with some of these heavier loads for me so that they're going to be moderate to light loads in the future. Fingers crossed. And then we had some front squats as well. These were at a fairly light weight, so moving it fairly well, and also tried to make sure to focus on that tension aspect of it, especially in those last 2 reps.
Another thing that can help is find something you're working towards. So for me, I'm working towards getting stronger, which is why I've been doing all of the strength stuff. And I have a competition coming up in September, and it had a qualifier that I've already done. I did it back in January. It was a long time ago, big gap between qualifier and competition. But with that, my worst workout by far was the strength. And if I had done as good on the strength as I did on my second worst workout, because there was, I think, 5 or 6 scores, I would have qualified in a division better than I actually did just because of my strength. All the Metcons, I had scores that were competitive with the better division, or the more advanced division is the term I prefer to use, not better, advanced. My WOD scores were good enough to be there. My strength was not. So that's what I need to work on, and that helps keep me motivated and coming back to do the strength stuff, which I'm not as good at, but gotta work at it.
All right, here's a look at some of my accessory work. There was actually more than this, but we're just gonna show you a little bit of it here. So we have a Palloff's press hold into some Palloff presses, and you gotta do this on both sides, but with the magic of editing, we're just gonna see one side for the time being. And then we're gonna go down to the ground to do some plank shoulder taps, and then dumbbell plank pull acrosses. I probably went a little bit too light on these pull acrosses, so if you're gonna give this movement a try, you could probably go a little bit heavier than you think you can. So I would suggest going a little bit heavier than this. This is 15 pounds, or maybe it's 12, 15 or 12, but it's too light. So if you're gonna give it a try, go a little bit heavier than that. From here, we're going on to some single arm rows and doing those on both arms before we move on to another round of this. I did 3 rounds of this, but we're gonna skip right over into the sled EMOM that I did, and it was 5 rounds. So it was every minute on the minute doing one of these movements. So it was 15 minutes total. We're just gonna see the last 3 rounds because that's a long time and it's not that interesting, but it's kind of interesting. So for the sled pushes, each length is 25 feet. So you gotta go back and forth to complete the 100. And then moving on after that to the crossovers and then those dumbbell step ups. It was hard. It was hard. So you have a minute to do each of those things though. So the sled wasn't the worst part. The sled I could move throughout it, although it did take close to the minute most of the time just because of the distance and having weight on that sled. But it wasn't like I was going to fail that portion of it. the first round of these dubs, which this is the third round again, third of 5, but the first round was very bad. Glad we don't have to watch it, because I was trying to figure out which rope I was going to use. I was trying to change up my rope into a shorter one to make it a little bit of a faster movement and take some of the slack out of the rope, but I don't think I could do that at this point. I think I gotta use this longer rope still. So it took me a while to figure out what I was doing there, and it was a mess the first round. This round's a little bit better, although not my best round either, but at least chipping away at these and getting into a rhythm at times and having some success with these crossovers. Trying to think about really hugging my body and bringing my arms all the way around to sort of like do a little hug there. And I feel like that helps if I get that good hug with my arms down low, but hugging across. I feel like I have more success. Now moving on to these farmer's carry step-ups, and this was bad. So this is 40-pound dumbbells, which is heavier than we usually do for this type of movement, trying to get stronger, but this almost broke me. I ended up having to scale the number of reps I did here to do about 40 seconds of it, so I'd have time to transition, and I was almost gonna cry in the middle of these. This was my worst part of this workout, and I struggled through it, and I was not happy. In this moment, I am not happy. I am happy that I did as many as I could now, but you're not always going to be happy. There's going to be moments that you're just struggling. 40 is really heavy for me for this. 35, which is the more traditional weight people do these with, like you see in most workouts that are programmed, the standard weight tends to be 35 for a farmer's carry step up, and I struggle with that really badly. So it wasn't looking much better here, and I was not having a good time. Back to these sled pushes, which were fine. Like I said, nothing to complain about here. They were just kind of a grind and took about 50 to 55 seconds. So it was most of that minute before I had to jump back on this jump rope. So this is round 4 of 5. So we're getting a little bit farther in, getting a little closer to the end, starting to see the light at the tunnel. The last set of dumbbell step-ups were probably my worst set, the one you just saw. So they do get better after that. But that third rounds in a 5-round EMOM is tough. So is the 4th round, to be honest. 5, you definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel. But 3 and 4 is starting to feel a little bit fatigued and sad. But, there was still doing well enough here and still chipping away at this sled push before we have to jump back on that jump rope for the crossovers. And I'm wondering if other people are practicing crossovers, because we're definitely putting them in now that we saw them at quarterfinals last year, with the anticipation that they could also appear in the open now that we've seen them in quarters. So getting used to these way before the open, which is good. I feel like this looks pretty good, this set here. I feel like I'm keeping my arms low and making sure I'm getting that cross, which is really vital for having successful jumps for me. Messed up there, but my expectations on this movement aren't super high at this point. So happy that I am doing decently well at these and at least getting some most times that I attempt it. But that open statement, these could be in the open in 2024. So if you haven't been practicing them, you might want to start sooner rather than later if you asked me. And now back to the dreaded box step overs. This was so bad. These were such a struggle for me. I did a competition back December of 2021, I believe, and there were box step ups or step overs in the competition, and it wrecked me. It was by far my worst workout in the competition, and I just did not do well. This is not a strong movement for me, but in these moments where I was struggling through this and sad, I reminded myself, it's to make it easier in the future. So you just gotta do as best as you can. And today, my best wasn't always the full 12 reps, but I tried to move for about 40 to 45 seconds of that minute to make sure I was getting some time in, but also make sure I had enough time to transition to the next movement, because if you eat up too much time in one thing, you're going to be behind going into the next. So last sled push here. Nice to know that we are coming to the end of this 5-round EMOM and I was trying to move a little bit faster on this sled push just so I had a little bit more time in between movements so that I can get a good set of crossovers in and hopefully build upon the efforts I've put in the last few rounds. So just trying to move at a fast pace but steady pace, and there's only so fast you can move the sled, right? You're not going to be jogging with it, but just try to keep my feet moving the whole time, not let the sled stop, except for, when I have to turn around each time, which is just the nature of not having a 100-foot sled push, which also would have been a challenge if I had to run back and forth between it anyway. So this works well because I'm right where I need to be when I finish the 100 feet to pick up my rope and get going on those crossovers. But I think I have a few seconds before I have to pick the rope. And I think I rested a second just so that I could get a good set in. And this does end up, I believe, being my best set of the day. I think I did a 30 unbroken. So I'm pretty happy to see it paying off, see the efforts paying off, and working on these throughout an EMOM, and at the end, having my best set of the entire EMOM. And that's what happened in this last round. It ended up being my best everything. So now that I got those done in one set, I have more time to rest, which is nice, before the dumbbell box step-ups. And I'm looking around, because wow, I have a lot of time because things went really well in this round. I do the full 12 reps this round. I also did it the first round and almost didn't have time to get back to my sled that time. And doing it again this time, it basically takes me the whole minute. But I figured last round, I don't have to do anything else after this. This is the last thing of my day. I go home after this. So let's just do all 12. And I was going to do them, it took me longer than the minute. But I finished them just in the minute. I do break them up. These are not pretty looking. That's just a matter of fact. Nowhere to hide on that. But I'm just trying to do whatever I can to get my legs a little bit stronger. And this was a challenge. And I'm just glad this last round I stuck with it and decided to do the 12, even though it was challenging. It was just hard. And I was not happy. But this last round, I was happy that I felt like I was going to be able to get it done in the 1 minute time, even though I put them down here. But I looked at the clock and felt that I can get that done in the minute. And that felt like an accomplishment, even though I had to scale the reps back throughout the EMOM. I was just happy to push myself and do my best, what my best is today, which was this. Just getting these done in a minute. And then it looks like I'm hyperventilating. But got it done. That was so hard. It kind of broke me in the middle. But last round, best round, which was the win. So, and it's done. That's also a win. Gotta look at the wins for the day. That also. Tip for feeling motivated: what are you too good at? Think about that after. Back in my car after that workout, and my final tip for how to stay motivated in the gym is simply honoring where you're at and celebrating that. Not every day is going to be the best day, and you're not always going to be where you want to be. I would have loved to do all 12 of those dumbbell step-ups and did them unbroken and did it in 35 seconds. But I can't. I'm not there. And that's okay, because today we got better and today we worked at it. So just celebrating where you're at and accepting where you're at, because sometimes you gotta just do the things that are making you happy. And moving any way you can is a win. So if where you feel like you're at today is you just want to go for a walk, that's great. And that's a great way to get movement in. If you are in the mood to take a break from something like the gym, like CrossFit and lifting, that's okay too. I did that a couple months ago, and I ended up deciding to train for a half marathon to give myself, a goal to do better and to stay motivated, but also to take a break from something that I just felt I needed a break from in that moment. And that's okay too. And you just got to accept that you're going to be in different places at different times. Sometimes things are going to be easy, and sometimes motivation is going to be easy, and sometimes it's not. And habits, just make it a habit. Like my first tip, bring it all the way back
keep everything a habit, set times that you like to hit the gym, and set time for yourself to get some movement in, because you always feel better when you move a little bit and do something for yourself, for your mental and physical well-being. And any bit of movement is a win, and you should feel like it was a win if you got to move your body today. So it really is that simple. Moving is a win. All right, I appreciate you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. We got semifinals, we got the games coming up, a lot of fun stuff. I'll be attending all of those, doing like some media stuff, so make sure you subscribe, or I hope to be attending all of those. Well, at least North America West semis, not all the semis. That would be insane. Great, but insane. All right, I'll see you in the next one. I gotta work. Bye.